Osama Hamdan, senior spokesperson for Hamas. Thank you so much for joining me on UpFront.
Thank you.
On October 7th, Hamas launched an attack when they fired thousands of rockets into Israel. Militants entered the country and took scores of civilians hostage, including women, children, and the elderly. While the right of resistance is absolutely secured for all occupied people under international law, the use of force is not unlimited, and targeting civilians and taking hostages are war crimes. How can you justify attacking civilian targets?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I have to say that this is the story from the Israeli side, which is not really true. I have to tell you to Oren Zeif, who is an Israeli journalist. He was today in Kfar Azza settlement, and he said there is no evidences that Hamas slaughtered children. I'm sorry that the Israeli government is using that to commit its crimes in Gaza. So this is the first part of the answer. We have also some Israelis are telling this has not happened, and it's a story, fake story used to kill more Palestinians. But this is
right, but the question was, how do you justify attacking civilian targets? That was the actual question. One second, sir. The question, the question was, how can you justify attacking civilian targets?
You are asking the wrong question.
No. The question was, how can you justify attacking civilian targets?
You are asking the wrong question.
We may disagree on what the right question is, but I would like you to answer this question. How do you justify attacking civilian targets?
This is a wrong question, and I'm not going to the same game of the Israelis.
Well, I'm asking a very clear question about civilians. Okay. Let me ask a very direct question. Have any civilians been killed?
Well, I don't know exactly, because this is what's told by the Israelis. What I'm telling you, that for this Israeli government...
You just cited Oren Zeif. He says civilians were killed.
No, he didn't say. He said no evidence that children were slaughtered. I don't know.
He said dozens of bodies of Israelis murdered in their homes.
Excuse me.
Those were his words.
You are wasting the time. It's your time. It's not my time. You are wasting the time.
All right, let's pause for a moment, sir. My question is, if you find out that civilians have been killed, would you consider that justified, or would you consider that unjustified?
There is 300 children have been killed today in Gaza by the Israelis. 200 women have been killed today by the Israelis in Gaza. 1,200 children were injured. 1,000 women were injured today, just today and yesterday in Gaza. You are asking me the wrong question. You have to ask about what is happening in Gaza, which is under the siege for the last 17 years, which is under the offensive Israeli attack for the last 4 days. You keep asking about the Israelis, why you don't ask about the Palestinians.
So that's a fair question, sir. That is a fair question.
Excuse me, I have to continue. You are asking about the Israelis. You don't ask about the Palestinians. No one cares about the Palestinians. This is the story. The story is the occupation. 75 years of occupation for the Palestinians. We have to talk about the occupation and how the Palestinians are looking for this occupation, and how can we make an end for this occupation. This is the story. It's not the story about what you are asking about.
Okay, I understand your perspective. To be clear, after this interview, I will be interviewing a representative of the Israeli military, and I will be asking him about Israel's war crimes. I absolutely acknowledge that Israel has committed war crimes. In fact, I have written a book with a whole chapter about Gaza and the war crimes that have been committed against Gaza there. So please do not suggest to me that I do not take this issue seriously. However, let me finish. I allowed you.
Thank you for clarifying
I allowed you to finish.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So now that we've clarified that, sir, let me.
You can't compare.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm not comparing anything. I'm not comparing anything, but please allow me to finish. My question for you is everyone living inside of a settlement a legitimate military target for Hamas?
According to the international law, the settlers are not civilians.
So, sir, again, human rights organizations have said the illegal status of settlements under international humanitarian law does not negate the rights of the civilians living there. The fact that a person lives in a settlement, whether legal or not, does not make him or her a legitimate military target? So in light of the fact that human rights organizations would argue that even if settlements are illegal, the people living inside of them are still considered civilians, how do you see moving forward Hamas's vision of whether or not settlements are legitimate military targets?
Well, the legitimate thing which I believe in, that Palestine is our land. Our people are living on our land, challenging the occupation for the last 75 years. On those 75 years, the women, the children were killed by the Israeli soldiers, the Israeli settlers. Their homeland was taken. They were replaced by Israelis who came from everywhere in the world. They talk different languages, and they claim that this land is for them. If you ask any one of them about the grave of his father, he will take you to Poland or to Argentina. But if you ask any Palestinian about the grave of his 17th grandfather, he will take you to some place in Palestine, showing you the graves, telling you, this is where my 17th grandfather was buried, or maybe before that. We are in this land from the days of Jesus Christ. Don't ask me about those settlers and those soldiers who are killing my people every day, every time. And this is the fact which creates the resistance of the Palestinians. The Palestinians did not start the war.
Let's talk about the Israeli response to the Hamas attack, which has been horrific. Israel is bombing Gaza and declared a complete siege. It's cut off food, fuel, and water from being admitted to over 2 million people. Thousands of Palestinians are going to die. One resident from Khan Yunis said, this is a bloody war that is different from previous wars. What is going on right now is total annihilation. We see this horrific response by the Israeli government. My question for you is, have the actions of Hamas over the past week made things worse for Palestinians on the ground?
The Israelis have done this before. They done that in 2014. They cut the electricity from Gaza in 2014 for 17 days. They cut the aids for the hospitals. In 2014, 2,500 Palestinians were killed. In 2021, more than 1,000 Palestinians were killed. No one remembers the numbers because they are only Palestinians. But I want to tell you, they were shocked by what had happened to their army. 11 points, military points were attacked by the militants of Hamas. The soldiers were killed or being taken as war prisoners, and the Israelis were shocked. This is the main troops attacking Gaza for the last 10 years. They fall down in a few hours. This is the shock. They want to get back the image of Israel army. They want to show everyone that Israel can destroy everyone.
That's an interesting point, sir. That's an important point you're making. You're saying that Israel sort of commits to a certain kind of response when it looks bad, that Israel responds disproportionately, and that Israel already wants to use this as a pretext for destroying the Palestinian people. I'm saying if you know that's going to happen, then how do you calculate the decision to launch an attack knowing that a university is going to be bombed, knowing that power is going to be cut off, knowing that fuel is going to be cut off, knowing that people are going to die because of the Israeli response? If you know that, why do you still make the attack, particularly when the Palestinian people don't have a say in whether or not that's going to happen?
This is a good question. You know, the fact that the Israelis are killing the Palestinians on all the ways, all the times. For example, in West Bank in the last 10 months, more than 500 Palestinians were killed. Most of them were civilians. They were shot in the streets, just demonstrating peacefully against the Israeli troops. The fact which everyone have to understand is that this occupation is killing the Palestinians all the time. He's not giving them any chance to have normal life. He's not giving them the chance to be independent and to have their independent sovereign state, even after 30 years of signature of Oslo Agreement. He's not implementing any international resolutions. He doesn't care about the international law. So we are facing this fact. The Israelis are killing you if you are treating them peacefully or if you are resisting them. And at the end of the day, the occupation is still there. So it's better to resist than being slaughtered daily without even resisting the occupation.
What was the goal of last week's actions? What was the immediate goal of last week's actions? What would you say the target or goal was?
The goal is to make an end for the Israeli attacks against the Palestinians, to make an end for the Israeli attacks on Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, and West Bank, taking over the lands, and to lift the siege on Gaza. The Israelis are planning for a long occupation on Palestine, and I think if they don't get the lesson from what had happened in the last 4 days, this army will not protect them. Their violence will not protect them. Even if they were supported by the United States, if they want to be protected, they have to acknowledge the Palestinian rights and to implement the international resolutions which gave the Palestinian people their rights without negotiations. Those are rights. No one can negotiate our rights.
Osama Hamdan, thank you so much for joining me on UpFront.
Thank you.